Woe to you, O earth and sea.
It's the Hop Nation
USA Podcast. It's episode 215 of the Hop Nation USA Podcast, and you can tell that I'm in a completely different space than usual. And I'm also not joined by my co-host Adam. That's a new thing. And you can hear other voices though. I'm joined by a new co-host, Dennis.
Yeah, what's going on, guys?
Co-host / guest for this episode. But we are episode 215 coming to you live from the First Sip Studios, their brand new storefront, brick and mortar for First Sip in, what is this, Allentown?
Mount Oliver.
If
you said that outside on the streets, the folks say they're very passionate and prideful of their area.
Dennis, fine, but I come from the woods and I carry a knife, so I don't care that much.
So Steve's one of those guys, if you see him in an alley, just keep going. He's there for some reason.
It's like I grew up with hillbilly tendencies, but not a lot of that residual left over. But yes, it's Dennis and I, and we're at First Sip Studios, and you already heard the wonderful deep laugh of Dave Bracey, who's joining us as a representative of Barrel and Flow Fest. And that's what we're going to talk about this episode. Barrel and Flow.
Yeah.
So with that, we're also going to be drinking Barrel and Flow collaborations.
It's only fitting, Steve.
Hell yeah. And I'm going to let Day introduce the first collaboration that will be featured at Barrel and Flow Fest, September 10th through the 12th.
Thanks for having me on. Appreciate, the courtesy and whatnot. This first beer is Knock If Ya Bock. Knock If Ya Bock. It's a Doppelbock, and it is 7.5% collaboration between Burgh'ers Brewing and Crafted Culture. This particular version has hazelnut in it. And brings out a little bit of that sweetness that you naturally get in a Doppelbock. Was talking to Neil, the brewer, and he was, he didn't particularly like the fact that there was hazelnut in it. And that's the thing about collaborations, right? You have a conversation and it's, it's two folks coming in on it. But he did say that, he felt after it was brewed that it was a good way that people who may not, particularly enjoy that style or have known much about it, can be introduced to it, with the sweetness and whatnot kind of taken away. For some of the other characters, it's like a gateway Bock, more or less. So, and the label was designed by Q Perry and Raymond D. Youngblood. All of the labels for these collaborations are featuring Black artists, paid Black artists.
That's it. That's the
which
key.
Is huge. That was not always the case in previous years, and is not always the case in the vast majority of society. So pay your fucking artists, man.
That's it.
This is available in the Tavour box. I don't know if you're listening, if this will be available for you to get. They are going to go pretty quick, but it goes out through Tavour to 25 states. And that's kind of dope because, the artist gets to, proliferate their work across the country. Local breweries. I know that Burgh'ers Brewing, this is the largest batch that they've ever brewed.
Mm-hmm.
They actually upgraded their system to kind of meet the order for it. You also get, Pittsburgh beer out to, the rest of the country and whatnot. And, Black folks get to drink black beer, whether or not they live next to a black brewery or not, because most people don't, given the fact that there's, about less than 30 brick and mortar Black owned breweries in the country. So,
right.
This is a great way to just kind of, celebrate the beer, celebrate the camaraderie, and pay some Black folks, especially the artists involved. So very, very proud to have this here.
Hell yeah, that sounds
awesome.
good.
Sounds great. Well, let's crack it open. We'll drink it up.
We'll find a good home for it.
You'll see on the video, Day is already a little lagging behind on us, but Dennis and I will get into it.
catch it up here.
Yeah, we just drink like it's our job.
Yeah, so I've heard about like Burgh'ers Brewing doing a lot more traditional styles, and then obviously adding hazelnut to a very traditional Doppelbock is
right.
Heresy.
And knowing the type of brewer that Neil is, he's he super clean cut. Everything's clear, crispy. Not that he doesn't brew any other IPAs, but he's very specific with what ingredients he puts in his beer as well, as you should be. And that's a big perk of collaborations. They change your mind a little bit, or at least introduce you to some different things, which is the whole point of some of the stuff that you guys have going on at Barrel and Flow.
Get you out of your comfort zone, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
100%.
I'll tell you what, you can smell like a lot of that hazelnut.
Ooh,
yeah.
It smells delicious.
Yeah, it smells delicious. It smells almost like a brown ale. But yeah, when you drink it, you get sweetness on it, but it isn't like drinking like Nutella or anything.
Right.
You get a little bit of sweetness, but it still tastes like a traditional Doppelbock.
It tastes like a Bock. I mean, I was like, he was like, if he didn't tell me there was hazelnut in it, I would have just assumed it was just a little bit more malty and sweet than your normal, Doppelbock. Like the hazelnut just... like I feel like every Doppelbock has hazelnut in it now. It's just to some degree. Like I don't even.
There's some Germans over there just rolling around in their grave. What did he say? Well, that is delicious.
Yeah, that's actually really good.
What is the ABV? Did we say like 6, 7?
7.5.
7.5.
Yeah, it's a
That
sleeper.
is dangerous.
Yeah,
that is a sleeper.
Yeah, danger. Careful. But yeah, good beer. Excited to drink more of it in the future. I'm sure, even though it is going out in Tavour boxes, I'm sure it'll also be at the regular fest as well. So
absolutely,
if you're in the Pittsburgh area or driving in, because I know a lot of people drive in for Barrel and Flow.
Yeah, we get a lot of folks coming in for that fest, and we get a lot of black folks that travel to Pittsburgh in the summertime for this festival. And I don't know if you know anything about Pittsburgh or black people, but we don't typically come to Pittsburgh willingly.
It's not the,
especially
it's not
in
the Mecca.
Yeah, especially in the summertime. Like it's not exactly a destination city for summertime fun, but that's what I love about this fest is that it gives folks a reason, and we have become kind of like the Mecca for black beer drinkers, like in America, to kind of come in, and it's like a family reunion. You know what I mean? Like all the people that you interact with online, because and I think that's the thing about a lot of different subcultures of America is that the social media has allowed us to connect when we used to just be weirdos. Like if we're anime weirdos, if we're like knife weirdos, if we're like
the anime
beer
part, not the knife weirdos.
Yeah, no, I mean,
you could be a knife weirdo too. Doesn't matter.
Like, we get to connect through the social media, and this festival is kind of it's a meetup of all the black beer weirdos that like see each other all the time online, but now get to kind of drink together. So
yeah. That's the perfect point, because I mean, you see like Comic-Con all the time, draws people in from all over the country. Well, this is just something different, but it's in the same vein of like, these are the things we like, and we're all come together for it.
Comic-Cons used to be much different when I was like going back in like the 90s. Like it was just, we were over in Moreauville in this big ass like space. And it was just rows of comics, and you just went through and you just spent hours digging through, hoping you were going to find like some jewel, while like some guy on the other end was just like, you ain't finding shit.
Yeah, they know what's in their fucking boxes.
There were no costumes. There was no like pageantry. It was just nerds and boxes. Now you go and it's like all it's wild.
That really connected with me. The old guy, you ain't find nothing.
Yeah.
I used to collect Magic the Gathering cards, and I would go down to our local place in New Kensington, and we called it the 10-cent box because every card matter was 10. And then I would go in there. I would look like thousands of cards. I would look card by card. I'm gonna find something good. And you had the old guys back there. You ain't find nothing in there, buddy.
No, they know what's in there. You have to go to like
they put it in there.
Right? Yeah. You have to go to like the. You ever been to Rogers, Ohio?
Yep.
Yeah. That's where. That's where you find shit.
Yeah, I found some good stuff there. I found a National Geographic telescope that everyone laughed at me and said, man, that ain't worth nothing. You're never, spent $75 on it. It was worth a few hundred. I mean, they were right. I did never use it, but it was a good, it was a good find.
Yeah. I found a Marvel Secret Wars #8 out there.
Yep.
The first appearance of the black suit Spider-Man. So there. Yeah.
Damn.
Wow.
It's pretty legit.
It was like $5. Nobody knew what the fuck they were sitting on.
That is, yeah.
Yeah, you gotta go brave the hillbilly areas to get to pull out the treasure.
Some of the stuff is it's pretty. Some people call it the dirt mall because it is. It ain't nothing but dirt.
I'm sure you can probably buy dirt if you really want it.
Probably could
if you look hard enough.
I found a beer stein from World War II that was made in Germany.
Oh yeah,
which was like super cool.
Yeah,
so.
Right on.
I don't know how we got on there.
I don't know.
I like it.
Just talking about
Nazi
treasures.
memorabilia sitting around your shelves.
Nope,
You know what I mean?
I ain't saying that. Not in Mount Oliver, people would be like, "Yo, that's him right there!" Like, cutting me off.
Is that
Get
black
his
Nazi?
Stein.
Get him.
He got Steins in there.
He wears that American flag on his hat just to blend in.
All right. Well, we can turn it back towards Barrel and Flow if you want. But so both Dennis and I have been to the previous iterations under the former name.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have to get into it, but again, obviously we're excited for this year, and this year is bigger than the previous years. And there's way more going into it. You have all these beers going out in Tavour, plus all the collaborations, plus you're taking over the Southside Works. And just like how much of the street is getting cordoned off for this?
So that whole patch from Hot Meadow Bridge, that grass area in front of Hofbrauhaus, that whole grass area from Hot Meadow Bridge all the way back until it ends, we get all that. We get the amphitheater next to Hofbrauhaus. We have the Music on the Lawn stage that they just built next to Hyatt. We have that stage there. And then we have the Southside Works. So in front of Cheesecake Factory, there's that square. We have Sydney Street blocked off, 27th Street blocked off. So those streets are going to be full of vendors. And then the old H&M and the old Sur La Table will be the two VIP spaces. Those will be the only indoor spaces at the fest. We only sell 250 VIP tickets. So between those two spaces, there will be 250 people. Plenty of space to spread out.
Right.
I doubt a lot of people are going to be hanging out inside,
Right.
With everything else going on. But we do have a VIP stage in there with the DJ as well, and another stage right outside in front of Sur La Table is where the main stage is going to be at. So I mean, we've got somewhere around like 75 breweries, 150 vendors total, and about 5,000 people coming out for the event. And I don't sleep often as a result.
Didn't think so.
But it's awesome, though.
Yeah, that is great. And just with everything else being ramped up, the collaborations are ramped up as well. So you're bringing in a lot of breweries that aren't from PA to do collaborations. You have Allagash and Jay Wakefield, two really respected and big names in beer. And then also, probably the biggest get, and you're going to have to explain how it happened, but right here in Pittsburgh, Brew Gentlemen is collabing with Run the Jewels. How? Who did that? Who knows Killer Mike?
It was wild because I had been trying to reach out to, like, I'm a big fan of Run the Jewels. And I had been trying to reach out to those guys like through like just random Twitter like mentions and sending emails to like their agents, they have a lot of agents, right? Yeah, I mean, when you get to that, like there's like all these companies that are like, they're kind of like the gatekeepers.
Yeah.
And you get to them, you're like, hey, would love, because like Killer Mike and all the things that he's doing in the Black community, his politics and whatnot, and then seeing him come into the beer world, I'm like, this is a match made in heaven.
Yeah.
Like we have a beer like music festival going on, and you're a beer music guy, and you're into politics and circular economics and all that. But again, how often does somebody check their Twitter when you're at that, that
Right.
level and whatnot?
Right.
And then with the agents, like, you reach out to them and they're looking like, my thought was, if I can just talk to him, I'm sure, as I have with a lot of the people that I've worked with in my life were either like brought to me and I happen to be, or like, I happened to be in a room with them and had a conversation. They were like, you know what? I like that. And myself included, right? Like, I'll take less money. I'll do a free gig if I see that there's opportunity involved.
Right.
If I feel like it's, if it's worthwhile. So I was like, man, if I can just get in a room, I probably can convince this guy. But the agents, like, these guys that, and they're just looking at a dollar amount. And they're like, listen, these are 6-figure guys. So unless you got 6 figures, we ain't hearing about it because they're just looking at their 10% cut of that.
Right.
Yeah. I mean,
Right.
fuck your opportunities.
Buy
fuck
it.
your, fuck your, the collab, like all that, like, what I mean? Just what am I getting paid for this? Right. So, I kind of like given up on it. And then I got a call from Tavour, Libby, super great gal working over there at Tavour. All the women working at Tavour, by the way, are fucking phenomenal, very hardworking. And I enjoy working with Tavour because they are all women and they all seem to have a very a good understanding of what we're trying to do with this festival. But I get a call from Libby and she's like, so, hey, I've been sitting here with Kate and Amici from the managers run the Jewels. And they were, we were talking about the festival and they would love to meet you. And I was like, what? What? And all of the emails, all of the efforts, like just went to shit. And then out of nowhere, they like happen to be, and then somebody
put it out there, though.
Put
it out there.
And we got on a Zoom call with them and I tried to play it off. I was like, hey, so I could find some time for you guys. Like, but like I got on the line with them and whatnot and had a conversation. And they were saying how like, they had heard about the fest through multiple channels that they had been working with. Because, they were working with Brooklyn. They were working with Weathered Souls.
Right.
They were working with all the people that we were working with already. Like they were working with Black Horizon and all these folks. So, like I said, I was kind of surprised that but I had reached out to Garrett Oliver. I was like, yo, if you happen to be in a room with them, like, like just happen to maybe nudge them a little bit. So, they were like, yeah, we heard your name around or whatever. And it seems like what you guys are doing is dope. And we had a conversation and they were like, yeah, so, let's do it. So, they asked me who would be a great, fit for that. And I'm a Braddock boy. So Brew Gentlemen,
right.
And Brew Gentlemen, Asa, Matt, they gave us, as a podcast with Drinking Partners, they gave us our first live podcast. They hooked us up with John Fetterman. We did a live podcast with him later on, which kind of was one of the first podcasts that kind of like legitimized what we were doing. We had a name attached to that and whatnot, and they've always showed love. So, and they make great fucking beer. So I was like, well, if there's going to be a brewery, then let me so I immediately I got on the phone. I was like, hit up Matt, and I never call I rarely call people unless which is not so I call him. And he picks up the phone because again, I appreciate people who only call when it's necessary. Right. And like he answered immediately and he was like, I was like, yo, you guys want to do a collab with Run the Jewels? He's like, what?
Like first sentence.
What? Yeah. And I'm like, all right, well, that's just kind of how it came about. And they shipped me a box with the prototype. Where they were like kind of playing around with the terpenes that were going to be in the beer and whatnot. They got it done.
Wow.
That's awesome.
That's insane.
Yeah, it totally is. Like, but it's also great because like now it sets the precedent. Because now everybody else is going to see Run the Jewels, and then who knows what the fuck next year is going to have.
Yeah, and that's the thing about like, and even with Fresh Fest. No, I love Fresh Fest, and everything that it was. And it's a part of history. I think that we did, make history in that festival, and it did a job and whatnot. And like, it's always about like taking the next step, and it's baby steps. You know what I mean? Like, so I was trying to get Run the Jewels to like, perform at a concert, and they were like, well, maybe not, but let's do that.
Like, slow your rolls here, buddy.
Yeah, I mean, and then, and it does help, again, legitimize the festival, get us into a different stratosphere. And, we can leverage that moving forward to say, well, if these guys, like trust what we're doing and co-sign with that, then, why aren't you getting on board? And like, and that's it. And I feel like that's something that folks, it's networking,
right? But
like seeing that and not, like not being, you could be like, oh, well, it's, they're not performing or whatever, or, oh, we're not getting this or that, or because people are like, are they going to be there? And I'm like, nah. I don't think so. I mean, maybe.
When you got that kind of money, you could be anywhere you want.
I can't say that I can't say that they won't be there. Yeah, I mean, but ultimately, like, I feel like, again, them co-signing that is a thing that, can kind of get us to that next level. And I try to do that with the fest is, however we can help in the ways that we can. I can't do everything. I can't be everywhere. But if I can, lend you something, like, then dope to get you to the next step. So 100%. Shout out to those guys.
And you guys, like, I don't even know what that next level is. You guys are the level when it comes to setting a precedent for beer fests. Like, you guys were voted one of the best beer fests in the country. So it's one of those things. What is the next level when you're already at the top? You're
we're not at the top, man. Like, did you see Coachella?
Yeah.
Like, there's a whole Lollapalooza was a 100 banger. Yeah, and that's the thing is, like, I don't aspire to do 100,000. Like 5,000 is the max that I like. Any event that I'll ever
small
do.
Batch.
Yeah, I mean, I think I went out to GABF. And like, while it was a great experience, and it was dope to kind of see all that. It felt like a Walmart convention. You know what I mean? It was just too much going on. It was just too, like, there was regions and like there were lines, and it was overwhelming. It was overstimulating. It was just like, well, fuck. So, and it lost like a community aspect of it.
Right.
So I always want to keep that community vibe. So, but like, I think the next step is, getting out of Pittsburgh, traveling. There's Black people all over America. There's Black people all over the world. So, we have aspirations to get out to Europe and Canada and Australia and Africa, and Asia.
Right.
With the festival, because it's needed. You know what I mean? Like, we had people fly in. I had this couple fly in. In 2019 from India.
Yeah.
And like, I was like, I'm running around and they were there. It was like, it was early. The doors hadn't opened like yet. And like, there was this family sitting there, like, and I'm running in. I'm like, because the venue that we were using, Nova Place, at the time, like, we couldn't close off the whole venue.
Right.
Like, there was that
just that outer
small
plaza
gallery or whatever down there, right? So like, I'm going in and I'm like, I see this family sitting there. I'm like, oh, hey, you guys okay? There's a beer fest going in. He's like, oh yeah, no, we flew in from India so we could volunteer for this. And I'm like, what? Are you fucking kidding me? Like, you know what I mean? So they did. They worked the first 4 hours. Like, he worked the first 4 hours while she watched the kids, and then he enjoyed the rest of the fucking festival. You know what I mean?
Nuts.
Like, and then we started getting calls. Like, we got a call from India. It was like, yo, how can we do this over here? So, again, I mean, that's the aspirations that we have moving forward is, to go from here is, how do we reach as many people as possible?
Right.
Because, I mean, anti-Blackness is a global issue. You know what I mean? And it's yeah, like, and I feel like this, this beer festival and that the spirit of collaboration is one that is kind of, like, beer being nearly universal, or alcohol being, nearly universal, culturally, you know what I mean? And, having that sitting down and just like, breaking bread, having, splitting a beer and having a conversation. I think that is the way that we kind of solve some of these issues. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, moving forward. So, I mean, that's where we plan to go, and having somebody like a Killer Mike to be like, hit somebody up in England. Maybe.
That's it. Just that's how those connections start. You know,
likelihood of Barrel and Flow Atlanta 2023.
True. And I mean, that's the, we're looking at, 2022 getting out, some places. And the goal would be to, travel the festival. Spring 2022, we'd like to get somewhere New Orleans, Detroit, California, somewhere, and then always have the festival in August here in Pittsburgh, COVID willing. I mean, I think that Pittsburgh needs this festival. I think that I think for a lot of reasons, Pittsburgh needs this festival. And I don't want, I don't want to be one of those guys. I don't want to be one of my friends that grew up and got their education and then just pieced out, and then comes back and complains about fucking Pittsburgh every time. And it's like, well, I mean, you didn't stay and change it. You just, you pieced out. And I get it. I don't besmirch anybody that sees the trials and tribulations that you have to go through in the city in order to survive and chooses to throw the peace sign. You know what I mean? But at the same time, don't come every fucking, couple of months and then shit on it.
Yeah.
And it's bad.
People who
you know it's bad. I know it's bad. You know it's bad. I stayed, you left. So, So, I mean, I think, I want to stay there and help Pittsburgh as much as I can, but also, travel out and try to touch other communities. And hopefully, other people see this and start their own black beer festivals and things of that nature. You know what I mean? I would like to go to fucking Barrel and Flow sometime. I would love to
not have to work,
not have to clean up after the fucking, you know what I mean? To have to do all the shit. So, hopefully we can inspire some other folks and also continue to big up Pittsburgh.
Yeah. It'd also be interesting if similar analogs popped up, because a couple episodes on the Two Phrase episode, we were talking about how there was the burgeoning craft beer industry in South Korea. Mm-hmm. So it'd be interesting if something like that popped up, for just maybe Asian. An Asian
or just people of color.
Yeah. I don't know what they would call it, but they can call it a Barrel and Flow. If they want, I guess. I don't know. That's up to Dave if he wants to license the name.
I had some Korean beer. It was part of the Brewbound competition where they have these breweries that are looking for some funding or whatever, and they submit their beers. And it had black peppercorns and different ingredients that the Asian community puts in their food. And when we started the festival, I was saying in interviews, I was like, it would be dope to see what the Indians are doing, what their food would taste like in beer, what the Asians are doing in beer. There's so many different ingredients that the culture, the combination of ingredients and the proportions of that are, they're cultural, and how to get that right. You got to go to the motherfucker. You can't just recreate that. And you know what I mean? You got to go talk and it would be dope to see their cuisine in beer. And, so, I mean, it would be dope to see other festivals pop up. And again, I'd go to them just like I go to the Italian days and go to the fucking Polish festivals and whatnot and celebrate their culture and their cuisine and their contribution, to this fucking tapestry.
Absolutely.
But if they can put out a drink that pairs perfectly, that isn't guesswork from somebody else.
That stuff makes me hungry. And you mentioned the ingredients and everything, how certain dishes are made up with beer and food going hand in hand. Mm-hmm. It's like a brand
beer
new canvas.
Food. Yeah.
It is. You can't live off of it for a little bit. We're not recommending that. We're not saying to do it. But trust me, there's some people out there that are doing it.
There's always that guy in Ohio, that Lent season comes around, and he lives on beer as the monk's diet. Yep. So you can, but don't. It's fun.
I recommend not.
But it's a great thing that we're seeing starting in Pittsburgh. You mentioned going international, and it's I still haven't heard anything. I'm surprised that nobody just kind of jumped on it to be the UK version or the Spain version, just to jump on it. But
and it's tough to get that message out there too. I remember you and I were talking, maybe a year or so ago, maybe year and a half ago, and there's still people right here in Pittsburgh that have no idea back then what Fresh Fest was or what Barrel and Flow is, and that just blows my mind. And I think a lot of it is if it doesn't directly impact or affect people, they kind of sometimes just don't listen. And you have to like blast it in their face for them to actually hear the message.
Yeah, and I mean, there's so many events that go on in Pittsburgh that I don't know about, right? I mean, it's everybody lives in their bubbles, their pockets of society and whatnot. You know, with the festival, I think the beautiful thing with the collaborations is it allows us to permeate more of those pockets. I mean, like bringing in every year, we're growing more and more people that are like, holy shit, you know, and seeing the artists, man, like it's a lot of work, and I curse the heavens a lot, but like seeing an artist like beaming with pride because like their label is being shipped out, or like they're brewing a beer and they're learning a new, you know what I mean, like, you know, skill or trade, and like, you know, in something that like they didn't know existed a couple of months ago. Like that's huge. You know what I mean? And that's the work. Social work is little. Like there's there's very few successes in social work. You know, what is success? If I can get a crackhead to smoke, you know, 5 rocks a week instead of 6, that's a fucking success. Right. You know what I mean? Like, and it's slow, and then you're always taking steps back. And it's a battle of attrition. So, you know, I mean, when the average person in Pittsburgh, when, you know, if we're not a household name in Pittsburgh today, that's fine. You know what I mean? Like that just means if we're doing this well now, imagine 10 years, you know, like when more people know about it, like every year more people are knowing about it, and like, you know, my inbox is getting fuller and fuller with people going, yo, how can I get on? How can I mean, like, you know, and again, still like we got 5,000 people coming in, you know, I'd say half of them are coming from outside the city. And that just means, you know, like there's still a lot more. And it's funny because like a lot of the hype and attention and even the sponsorships came from outside the city. Right. Like our sponsorships came from Colorado and California and New York, like because they, you know, and Pittsburgh, love it to death. But you know, it's behind. You know what I mean, we're about on a 5-year, lag on the rest of things. And Pittsburgh is one of those towns where they don't really support you until you blow up elsewhere. You know what I mean? Like, you know, so yeah, I mean, it was having like a New Belgium sponsor the festival was huge. You know, having Brooklyn and Allagash come in, like having these outside folks come in, like sucks, but it adds, you know, like that you know, legitimacy,
right?
I mean,
that certificate of authenticity.
Yeah, we've been fucking with Brew Gentlemen since we started this. We've been fucking with like Hitchhiker and all. Name a hype, you know what I mean, beast in Pittsburgh, and we've been fucking with him. But like that wasn't enough to like give us that, like, until like a Trillium popped up, and it was like, oh shit, right?
Oh, now they're for real. When you've been grinding in the trenches for years,
like, I mean, but you know, I don't take it, because I mean, I'm the same way in various aspects. Like until an artist, you know, I don't always know what the fuck is going on, you know, in other pockets of society. I'm in my own. We all have bubbles, and I used to say like, oh, you know, you burst your bubble. Nobody's bubble has ever bursted. It's just expanded.
Right.
And I mean,
that's how bubbles work.
Yeah, you just expand your bubble. So, you know, I'm constantly trying to expand my bubble, knowing that there's still shit that I'm going to be introduced to. And that's kind of dope, because if I knew everything, I'd be fucking bored.
Yeah, that's true.
Sure would.
And you'd at least be a minor deity. Yeah, talking about omnipotence over here. You said it so casually.
Yeah, but it truly is a testament to how good this festival is. Like growth year after year, even through a pandemic year, it survives and pops out the other end bigger than ever.
Right.
And then you have another festival that just happened in Pittsburgh, and nobody fucking knew about it because it's just corporate trash. Nobody wanted to be a part of it.
It's like Zach Morris.
Yeah.
Zach Morris.
You're talking about the big one at the park?
The one that happened down Stage AE.
There was a stage. Oh,
yeah.
Okay, yeah,
I didn't even know about it if a couple of people that came to our soft opening weren't like just volunteering there.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that was this weekend?
Somebody texted me about it, and I was like, oh, what?
I remember somebody mentioned that to me because they said they're like, well, they ain't got no COVID protocols, and I was like, oh shit.
Well, they just don't care.
Yeah.
I mean, they got what they wanted was your ticket fee.
Yeah. That's that was a super corporate event anyway.
Yeah.
So
I mean, mean, I love corporate events because they make us look so much better. Like,
Right.
Oh yeah,
that first year
they keep
of Fresh
that bar
Fest,
low.
that first year of Fresh Fest, there was a festival going on in PNC
Yep.
Park. I
Yep.
won't name the name of the PNC Park festival that was going on in PNC Park, but
It was All Star.
Yeah.
Adam, our co-host Adam was there, and he fucking hated it.
it was a shit
Dude.
show. But we were right next door at Nova Place, and we probably sold like 200 to 300
Yep.
tickets
Yep.
off of people that left that
Dude.
festival
Yeah.
and walked over
I
to
remember
ours. Like
that
there was a
because-
mass exodus, and like we were like people were like walking in and being like, "What the fuck is this?" And like I'm walking around and like people were like, "Yo, this festival is cool. Who's doing this shit?" I was like, "Oh yeah, we put this one." I'm like, "Yo, this is way better than that shit we just
Yeah.
came." Like, and it was because it was a wave. Like we had all these walk-ups. And then it kind of died down. And then we started getting the second wave. We're like, where the fuck? And everybody was like, yeah, we just came from. And then I saw the fucking pictures from that shit the next day. And it looked like fucking Lord of the Flies.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, there were no like people pouring it, like taking over.
Yeah, somebody
this
was
shit.
People were
Like,
pouring
jumping
kegs
over.
out.
they were
pouring
jumping
for
over like
themselves.
I had never seen pictures
Yeah.
from an event like
It
that.
was like a Kenny Chesney concert,
Right.
So,
But the parking lot was in the fucking
Right.
building. Like,
Yeah.
The parking lot was the event.
So-
yeah.
I remember exactly when that happened because that year we were collaborating with Allegheny City Brewing. We're sitting there. I'm like, where'd all these people come from? And then it was either you or Ed. Someone showed up at the
A
table.
lot
It was
of
like,
people were
you were
asking
like,
for
hey
glasses.
man, we need glasses. What do you have? We're like, we have maybe like 20 that we brought. You're like, give them to us.
I remember like somebody coming, like I was running around doing a bunch of shit, and then I saw somebody with a fucking rocker glass
Yeah.
Yeah.
with beer in it. I was like, yo, did you bring that fucking glass into my festival? And they were like, no, they gave this to me at the desk. I'm like, what? So then I run over to the desk and I'm like, yo, what the fuck is going on? They were like,
We're out.
we were out of glasses. We had to run to Restaurant Depot and get more glasses because we only bought enough glasses. This was our
For
first
tickets you
festival.
sold and stuff.
For 700.
Yeah.
We bought we were selling 700 tickets. We bought 700 glasses. We didn't account for any of the fucking staff. We didn't account for any giveaways.
Oh, yeah.
We didn't count for anybody. Like, we didn't expect in a first year festival more than 700 people to
Right.
show up.
Yeah.
It was 1,200 people, but 1,200 tickets that we sold. And we had they ran out, they got glasses. Then they ran out of those. They went back to Restaurant Depot, got more glasses, and then they ran out of those. Restaurant Depot was closed. Then they had to go get Dixie cups. Like,
Yeah.
I remember Tracy Serto from next Pittsburgh like showed up to the festival like I don't know maybe around like 7:00, and she was like, you guys are handing out Dixie cups?
They're like, you haven't been here. We've seen some shit.
I mean, we lowered the ticket like every $10 every time,
Yeah, yeah.
right? I mean, so by the time she got there, she got in for like $20 with the Dixie cup. You know what I mean? Like, but it still was a little like
Had to take a bunch of refugees on from
Yeah.
another festival.
Hey, it's
true.
That Dixie.
over here opening borders, man.
It was such a good time, man.
Yeah.
And year after year, it's just been great. So the year before DigiFest, we weren't collaborating. We took a year off, and it was just crazy. Like just being a participant.
Mhm.
You're gonna love it one day when you get to be a participant. But just walking through, like we got to see some of our subscribers that came in from the other side of the country. They were like, "Yo, Dennis." I'm like, "Hey, man, what's up?" They're like, "I'm so and so." I get like the enthusiast brew bar. I'm like, "Oh, what's up, man?" And then just seeing, all the black beer influencers from all over social media. Like we made such great connections at the festival and just hanging out. And it didn't even feel like a beer fest. Honestly, it felt like everyone was just invited to a cookout, like your cousin's cookout. That's what it felt
Yeah.
like. And that's what it continues to feel like year after year.
When we were planning the festival, that's what we were looking for that vibe. I mean, I've been producing shows, since about 2013. And, people were like, oh man, why don't you do a beer festival? You like beer, you like to produce shows. And I was like, there's no fucking point. There's 1,000 beer festivals every goddamn weekend.
Right.
Like,
Right.
it's just, if you're doing it, why am I doing it? Right. But like, we found like purpose in, connecting the community, representation, like putting money in the pockets of black folks. We found that we could utilize this as a vehicle of change. So that's why we started it and whatnot. But Shit, what was the point there that I
Dude, it was a great story. Like I was right there with you.
Yeah, and I mean, but no, we built it like, whenever we were looking at the elements, like beer festivals. I had been to a few beer festivals before that, and like the first time I went was I think it was Beers at the Burgh, and it was fucking amazing. I was like, holy shit, you get to come in, you get to drink all the beer you want. Like what? Like, we went around, and me and Ed, and like we had a camera crew. We were like, getting fucked up and interviewing folks, and like it was the fucking time of my life. But like, afterwards, going to beer festivals, it was like once you like, because we sort of get more into the industry with the podcast and with comedy and whatnot. So like once the allure of drinking unlimited beer kind of wears off, then what the fuck else is there for a beer festival? Like, I mean, mm-hmm. like, because the music wasn't particularly great. It wasn't like they had like a full, like there wasn't much to do at beer festivals outside of drinking.
Right.
So when we made this festival, we were like, yo, we were like, we're going to have shit to do. You know what I mean? Like, so, and conversation starters, having artists there, having, an array of music, having collaborations where every booth is a conversation. How did you guys meet up? Why is this beer the way that it is? Who are you and who are you? That cross promotion, like, the brewery bringing in their folks and the artists bringing in their folks, but also the not focusing on it allows you to have those conversations
right.
where you forget that you're even like your cup is empty. You're too busy like talking to folks. Like, yeah. You know what I mean? And like we asked a lot of questions. We talked to festival goers, we talked to festival like owners, we talked to breweries, we talked to fucking vendors, and we said, what do you hate? What do you hate most about beer festivals? And like we talked to women, we've talked to folks to the LGBTQ community, right? And they were like, oh, it's too crowded. Like, there's not enough porta johns. Like, it's just a drunken slop fest, like all these different things. So in listening to the community, like we listened to the community that we wanted to bring to the festival. And in doing so, I think that is what gave that kind of cookout vibe because, everybody there had been heard and was now comfortable and wasn't just, like there to, all right, let me come here, let me get drunk and then go find the next place. Like right. They were there to stay. They were right. there to, you know what I mean? And like that's why it's a 9-hour festival. It's not a 2-session festival. We're not trying to get you in, get your dollars. You go drink the beer, get wasted, get you out of there, and then like reload.
Rotate in the next cab.
Right. Yeah, I mean, like this is for you to chill out and have some fun and enjoy it. You know what I mean? Like don't rush off. Like have a conversation. And I think that's what lends to that kind of cookout vibe.
Right on.
Hell yeah.
Well, if you're looking to enjoy Barrel and Flow this year, it's happening September 10th through the 12th. Get your tickets now. Go on to barrelandflow.com. Check it out. We're going to take a quick break. We'll come back. Segment 2, we're going to talk a little bit more to Dennis. He mentioned he took a year off from collabing, but we'll talk about his collab coming 2021. And, we'll talk more with Day about everything going on at Fresh Fest. Fucking damn it.
Flowfest.
Yeah, Flowfest. Everything going on.
Y'all made it a household name. Really, especially Egg just going through. Yeah. I still hear that.
It's catchy as shit.
It is catchy.
We'll talk to Day with everything going on at Flowfest coming up for 2021. So stay tuned.
First Sip Brew Box is a one-of-a-kind subscription service for craft beer lovers based right here in Pittsburgh. Every month, First Sip will send you a box full of craft beer enthusiast essentials, including t-shirts, glassware, and even food. Right now, our friends at First Sip Brew Box have an offer for you. Just sign up for a 3-month subscription and get your 4th month free. Just enter the code HOPUSA when you sign up at firstsipbrewbox.com. That's HOPUSA at checkout to get your 4th month free at firstsipbrewbox.com.
It's episode 215 of the Hop Nation USA podcast, and we're still here live at First Sip Studios on top of Mount Oliver. I'll say it right this time. We're joined by Dennis and, of course, our very special guest, Dave Bracey. We're talking Barrel and Flow. And we're talking barrel and flow beers. So let's get into the next one.
Just quickly, is that Mountain Oliver? Like, if you were to call it by its government name, would it be Mountain
I've
Oliver?
never heard
Like, if
someone say
Mount Oliver's
Oliver.
in trouble, do you go, Mountain Oliver, get over here?
we have our own flag and everything. We've succeeded the union.
What is Mountain Oliver's middle name?
Washington.
Mountain Washington Oliver.
Yo, I don't like that. Definitely sounds like they own slaves. Like,
Yeah, you know what? That's bad.
yeah, the whole area is referred to as the Hilltop. But within the Hilltop, you have, Mountain Oliver.
Right.
You have Allentown. Then you start getting towards Southside Slopes and all that.
Yeah. Yeah. Then you get on down to Carson Street, get drunk and throw up.
And apparently get stabbed these days.
But can
And
you still
shot.
get Sola Pizza?
Oh, without doubt. And I hope that you can still get those shitty gyros, but at 2 a.m. they taste phenomenal.
Yeah.
Man, rest in peace, Lesvos.
Oh, they're not there anymore.
Man, that was people. If you knew, you knew, right? Everybody going over there to Mike and Tony. Shout out to Mike and Tony or whatever. But Lesvos, late
Lesvos, that's
night,
all
Yeah.
I've ever went to down there.
fresh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
delicious. Like, they threw the fucking hot sauce on there, man.
There was always a line too.
Yo, but I mean, it wasn't as bad as Mike and Tony's. You know what I mean? You can get in there relatively in and out and whatnot, and it was greatly lit.
Right.
And I mean, it looked clean as shit. Like,
Yeah.
oh, man, what the fuck? Rest in peace, Lesbos.
Damn. They
That was
had
a
good
different
grape
time
beers.
too. That was the only time I would ever stop drinking before 2 is because I wanted to beat the rush down there.
I used to actually be in a completely different fucking part of the city and would drive over
Damn.
to Lesbos because late night there was no other spot that was open
True.
at like 2 o'clock in the morning that was
Right.
better than Lesbos. You know what
Right.
I mean, like,
You're just making a series of bad decisions.
I would make the case for Tom's Diner, but that's also gone.
Yeah.
So.
Tom's Diner's gone.
Oh, shit. Yeah.
And there were so many spots. I've had so much breakfast at 2 a.m. Like at so many different places. I remember Ritter's.
I've had so many gyro fries at 2 a.m.
Yep. Oh, God. The good old days. Now I know why my body hurts.
And now I know why I'm all fucked up and things hurt and got the gout. And
my joints aren't as lubricated.
But yeah, next beer we're drinking is called Shop Talk. And Day, tell us about it. What else?
So Shop Talk Revolution out in Chicago, one of the largest craft breweries in the country, 18th Street, another one of those like hype beasts. I don't even know if 18th Street is a hype beast. It's one of those, like, I feel like craft beer like nerds enjoy it. Like,
Right.
if you know, you know what I mean? But like, I don't know if it's in that same realm of hype beast with like a Jay Wakefield or
Right.
like a Trillium, you know what I mean? But like, they just make consistently good fucking beer and happen to be black owned.
Right.
So this is a collaboration with them. I had a chance to go out there and throw some hops into this, which was kind of dope. And hang out with the owners, Drew, Josh, and just hear the story. Drew, the owner of 18th Street, actually used to just hang out at Revolution and was developing his business plan and things of that nature at Revolution, and was getting a lot of support, from that. So whenever Doug Valicki reached out, did his podcast from Revolution last year. And I reached out and was like, "Hey, do you want to do a collab this year?" And he was like, "Yeah, who should we do it with?" Da da da. And I threw him some names, and he was like, "You know what? We've been looking for a reason to work with 18th Street. This is a perfect reason." I was like, 18th Street, man, we've been trying to get them on the fest for years. So they made it happen. This is it's an IPA, West Coast, and they sent me the label, and the label is by John Jennings, who is a comic book artist. And I'm a comic book geek, and I've been following John Jennings for years now. So when I saw I was like, I noticed his artwork and his style, and I was like, yo, they got John Jennings to do the label. Yo, this is crazy. And then
It tastes like
yeah, like, and like I posted and like I tagged him. I was like, yo, this is John Jennings. And then he followed me on Twitter. And I was like, what the hell? Like, and he's like, oh, this is an honor.
That's that
like,
next level you were talking about.
like, I was
right?
like, holy shit. So like, I mean, it just wild because again, Revolution reached out to me last year, like I said, Doug just having a conversation, and then them bringing 18th Street in, again, a fan of them, and then, them bringing in John Jennings, a fan of them and whatnot. Like, I mean, it's just this collaboration for me, it's just, I don't know. It's almost like it's unbelievable. It's like, I don't even know how this happened. You know what I mean? Like, it's one of those type moments like, holy shit, this beer is too good for me.
It's too good for you, but you had a hand in making it.
Yeah, like, it just, so shout out to the folks that had a hand in making this. And again, shout out to Tavour, really they came to me and said, I found them last year with Tavour, and this year we were like, let's do it again. And they just were like, all right, we'll just go out and find, some breweries and, we'll just buy 15 barrels, all of them. And like, there was no like fuss. There wasn't like I sent somebody and they were like, we don't want to buy beer from them. They were just like, yeah, whatever. And it gave me the ability to like, to help build this festival and help build these collabs, because I'm not just going to folks and saying, hey, can you maybe work with these folks? Like,
right.
Like we're actually going to them saying, yeah, we're going to buy beer off you. Like, you know what I mean? Like, all we're asking is that you pay fucking people that need to be paid, and, like give credit to the folks that need to be given credit to. And, a lot of this fest, a lot of like, what I try to do in the career is just align interest and align energies, is redirect energies. Like, you're already doing what you're doing. You know what I mean? Like, this artist is already arting. These brewers are brewing. You know what I mean? Like, we're just saying, why don't you do this together?
Right. And
out of that will come something that's better than, the sum of, it's parts or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah, man, shout out to those guys. And shout out to Tavour for giving me the platform to kind of just go around the country and bring this together.
Yeah, that's awesome. Also, neat thing about the can for the audio listeners, it's all black.
Yo, it's a black top.
Yeah,
I saw it. I was like, yo,
Everything's black on it.
yeah, when did they start
That's
making
really
these?
cool. but you like Monster did it.
It's old Monster cans.
That's probably what it is with the can shortage that was going around. You don't know who you were buying cans off of.
Yeah, there was a can shortage, but they pulled out an all black can with
Mountain Dew black. Like,
yeah, some rejected Game Fuel cans. It was supposed to be for the new Halo, but that got delayed, so fuck it, they're yours now.
But this is definitely one of Steve's favorite styles, going like
IPA.
some Westies.
Hell yeah.
It's a nice solid Westie.
Yeah, it's West Coast IPA. Let's see, 7% in case we didn't say it. And then Centennial, Amarillo, Chinook, and Cryo Simcoe. Ooh.
That new cryo that's popping out
Yeah.
everywhere. Yeah, I mean, that's the new black. That's like the
the
cool
new
thing.
hotness.
Yeah, I mean,
Hell yeah. I've used Cryo Mosaic in a black IPA. It's a new thing. You got to try it.
yeah, I mean, what is it about the cryo? Is it like
They basically take, so kind of like there's all the yellow oils and everything.
terpenes or
Yeah,
whatever?
terpenes and all of that. And they just take all of that shit out of the vegetable. So they take all the leaves and remove all of that stuff, and they just boil it down to a powder. Not boil it, but it goes through a thresher machine, and then I think they super cool it to take everything out and like solidify it. Yeah.
Wow. So you're not getting any vegetal matter.
No, it's just all oils and dusts.
Oh man.
Yeah.
The pure of the pure.
Yeah.
That's some grade A Colombian.
Some of that wax.
I mean, you could do a dab with it, maybe.
Well, hot
Nope.
dab.
Remember, so speaking of Neil, from Burgh'ers, on the first beer that we had, we were out for one of our veteran collab beers that we were doing with him, 2019, and he was like, "Hey man, I'll eat some hot pellets if you do," and I'd never have.
Yeah.
So I was like, "Yeah, man." Well, we had just got done drinking a bunch of Belgian quads that he had. So
yeah.
I felt like I was like, "All right, yeah, man, let's do this." Yeah, we popped like two I was like, yeah, that was the worst decision. Like my tongue was wrecked for days. Yeah, I mean, we all learned something one time.
You lick it like I've licked like I put the tip of my tongue on it and have been just like
it's shocking.
No, it was
it's shocking.
Imagine that grinding that up and it's just in your teeth. Like my tongue would have left my mouth. If it could. Like, it was like packing my bags, motherfucker. I'm out. I'm fucked up for the last time.
Wow. Yeah. No, man. Don't get drunk with me.
That's gross.
So he'll get you.
Don't get
He'll
drunk
do
with
some
Neil.
silly shit. He's like, "Hey man, you want to weld this grill back together?"
Yeah.
Why not? The only rule is we don't wear shoes. He is definitely a man's man.
I mean, most people learn at the homebrew stage not to do that.
Yeah,
but he's still doing it.
Yeah.
It's like a party trick for him, I guess.
Yeah. Well, probably just to see other people do it.
Yeah,
He
just
laughs at their demise.
He's inoculated to it. Like he's been bitten by the snake enough times. It doesn't bother him, but it'll still fuck everybody else.
Who's the Princess Bride?
I love it. He freaking saw a comedian that was like, yeah, someone told me, I guess he was spending time in Australia. He was like, yeah, if you get bitten by a snake, you're supposed to catch it and take it in so you can show them what bit you. And then he was like, yeah, I don't think that's right. Who told you that? That's just what people say. And he's like, no, so you're telling me if I get bit by a poisonous snake, I'm going to get bit 17 more times catching that motherfucker. That's what you're supposed to do? He's like, yeah. So that's kind of what happened.
I mean, depends on the snake, you know.
It depends on the snake.
I think if they unload everything in the first shot, then you're good for the next couple bites don't have venom. You're just getting bit.
You're going down with me, sucker.
Yeah.
Just Steve just choking like the reptile.
But yeah. So you did bring up collaborations. First Sip's kind of known for collaborations at this point. You do them for veterans causes, and you've done them just for other fun. Just for
absolutely
fun.
Different causes and all that fun stuff.
Right. You've done it for Fresh Fest in the past, and now for Barrel and Flow this year, you're back again.
Back again.
Why don't you tell us about the collab that you're doing and with who?
Absolutely, Steve. So we had the pleasure and utmost honor to go hang out with Our Town Brewing, located in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, or for some of the locals out there, Lancaster, Pennsylvania.
Lancaster.
And hanging out with those guys and girls down there, really phenomenal time. We're still ironing out what we want to call the beer, the name. However, some of the ingredients that we're making it a lightly hazy IPA, and we're dumping like a shitload of hibiscus in there. It's going to be a nice deep, what is it? Pink, Steve? Steve knows I have trouble seeing colors,
salmon.
but hibiscus is, salmon-y colors. I'm going to dump a ton of hibiscus in there. And I literally was on a call last night with Rob, one of the owner and proprietors of Our Town Brewery. And I was like, hey, man, we've been doing some research and we need to put some pineapple in this. We were looking at a lot of cocktails and mixed drinks that they may have over in Africa. And the two ingredients that kept popping up were hibiscus and pineapple. So we're like, let's do it. It's going to be nice, juicy, tasty,
Should be really
beautiful, very picturesque for all you influencers out there that just want to take photos of beers and sip them quietly.
I need to get pictures of my hazies. Gotta get them on the gram.
You got to do it, man. But it's definitely a great time. We were able to go out there, shoot an episode with those guys. And Lancaster has come a long way from what I remember it years ago. The art scene there is really blowing up. Like they have so many beautiful small shops. My wife actually talked me into building a terrarium when we were out there. So
the fuck is a terrarium?
Wait, am I saying the right word? What's that thing?
Terrarium is what you put reptiles in.
Oh, then what's the word where all the different layers of dirt and little small shrubberies?
It could still be a terrarium.
I think that's
but it's
what
just
all right.
I mean, it seems like a terrain.
Yeah.
So
Is the root?
I'm like, for a second there, I totally questioned what I did in Lancaster.
I mean, it's still
But you folks out there know what I'm saying, where you put the little shrubberies,
Right,
and little
yeah.
ferns,
It's
little plants, and you design that little ecosystem kind of.
Right. Yeah. I mean, the people out there may know. I didn't know. I was like, what the fuck is it? Because we don't.
He said, my
I've
man's
never.
just buying spiders.
It's usually an aquarium without water.
Yeah.
Is what? Yeah, and then you usually put
I
lizards
don't know what I
and
did.
turtles in there.
I bought a little gnome. I put a little gnome in there.
That's fun.
But it really happening place on the art scene, so we definitely enjoyed it. Beautiful little bakeries everywhere. Where that's
Get
my
some
wife. And
pretzels?
that's our. Oh God.
So many pretzels out there.
Yeah, that's our weakness, man. We do bakeries, breweries, nachos, and waterfalls. We try to find like little parks that have waterfalls and stuff, but that's what we do. Though we try to extend our lifetime on this earth because a couple other things are fighting against us.
Well, at least make it enjoyable. It may not extend it, but it'll put more enjoyable moments in.
That's it.
Warm pretzels and waterfalls.
Yep. But so that's what we're doing with Our Town Brewery, and we're definitely excited to see how it turns out.
Right on. Sounds good. Coming back today, you mentioned a little bit, and we've been talking off mic about it, the problems of distribution of all this beer and getting it everywhere and getting it into the hands and getting it into the people. Can you tell us a little bit about like how the process and how it's separated, because Tavour is handling its thing and then you have to handle your thing for the festival itself?
Yeah, I mean, so last year we were trying to figure out, through a pandemic, how we were going to get black owned beer here. Like, we wanted to do a virtual festival, but like, I mean, a large part of a beer festival is beer. So we were like, well, how do we get the people, the beer, and how do we get black owned beer into the hands of people, not only here, but, abroad. So we came up with the collaborations. I mean, we're like, all right, well, let's lean on the collaborations. At least with a collaboration, we'll have, their influence here, in Pittsburgh, if they're collaborating with Pittsburgh breweries. And then, if you happen to live next to a black owned brewery that's collabing, then maybe you can get it there. But I mean, even then, again, it's a very small section of the population that serves. And we were trying to figure out, like how to get beer shipped out. So like, I mean, we spent a lot of time like trying to learn beer laws and shipping laws, and man, it's a shit show. I mean, like every state has different laws.
Right.
Like they're all like old timey and shit. Yeah. Like, I mean, some you have to ship with a wooden spoon in the can. Like, I mean, it's like weird shit that you're like, why the fuck does this even like why is this in here? Like some old witch voodoo, like superstition type shit. Like they'll burn you if you ship it wrong. Right.
Damn.
Like
Blessed by a priest.
Yeah. Like it's crazy. And, I mean, it all ties to, lobbyists and people who are making money off of this that keep it the way that it is. So, we were even looking at like, there was a point where I was going to try to find a statewide distribution like service, like, like in every state.
Oh God.
To like call them, tell them what we were trying to do, and then see if we could hook up the beer with their service so that it can get out there for the festival and all that, like across 50 fucking states, like within 2.5 months. That's like when we started planning this festival. Like, and a friend of mine, it wasn't happening. And then a friend of mine hit me up and was like, yeah, I happen to be in an email thread with Tavour. Maybe something, may not, but like, want to send them an email? I was like, yeah, sure. I mean, it's worth a shot. So, hit them up, told them about the fest. They were like, all right, yeah. And then the next email, they were like, we love the idea. They came back, was like, all right, yeah, let's do it. So we were able to get 8 collabs. They were like, we'll take, we'll buy 15 barrels off of 8 breweries. So let us know who it is. And and they ship it to 25 states, because apparently, so what they do is they register in Washington. Mm-hmm. They ship the beer there, and then Washington has a loophole that they can ship to 25 states out of it.
Oh, damn.
From Washington.
From DC or Washington State?
From Washington State.
Okay.
Washington, the state.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was, I mean, like the loophole helped, like whatever they were doing, and we were able to get the beer out. for the festival, and it was a very nice, neat like story. We were looking at we had breweries here already, and then there was a delivery service that was PA base that we utilized last year as well. That ended up like stealing our whole model and like throwing on a very similar event. I was just like,
that was so shit. That flopped. I bet.
I'm pretty sure it flopped. Typically when you steal people's ideas that are better than you, they flop. That's how. But anyway, we so this year coming in, we were like, all right, well, Tavour was super dope and pairing back up with us. They doubled. They went from 8 to 16 this year. But like we were still looking at like the goal as a beer drinker for me and for the fest, very personally, like I want to see beer, like black owned beer on the shelves here. Like I want to be able to go to Giant 100%. Eagle or go to like like a distributor somewhere and find it on the shelves. So like in order to do that, you gotta get the beer in. You gotta find a distributor. So this year we're working with Steel City, and we gotta find a distributor to get. You have to use a distributor to get the beer in anyway legally for the festival. So I mean, there's that. And Steel City, we've been working with them for years on the festival. Ever since Fresh Fest and getting the beer here. But beyond that, like you're looking at like the laws, the various brands, some like if you're signed up with a distributor, you can't be signed up with other distributors, right? Like
it's so convoluted.
Like a lot of retailers won't work with. Like they'll only work within their like distributors like ship or whatever. They won't like sign on new ones or whatever. Like, and then you look at the capacity of breweries. Some breweries have canning capacity. Some don't. Some are just kegs. Like some are only canning. I mean, they're not, some can brew a lot of beer. Some can only brew a small batch or whatever. So like, while there is a demand for certain types of beer brewed by certain types of people, the ability to get the beer from the people brewing it to the people who want it, you have to go through the laws. You got to go through the shipping laws by federal. You got to go to shipping laws by state. You got to go through all the taxing that goes on. I mean, state, county, local. You got to go through the distributor. They want their cut on top of it. I mean, you got to go to the retailer and you got to figure out, if they're willing to and there's just so many moving parts. And like, we've been navigating and like, I didn't start off so I'm a comedian. Like I tell dick jokes for beer money. That's how that's my like
another good beer
dream
name,
job.
Dick jokes for beer money.
That's my dream job. I didn't get into this to be a distributor, but at the same time, like, if we're inviting these breweries up and if we want to like really, get them out there and like, aid them or whatever, distribution or at least getting their products in the hand of the people is part of that. So, and like, it was just like I want to, why don't we, I go to a retailer and be like, hey, we got this brewer. That's really how it happened. I went to a retailer and I was like, yo, do you want to carry this brand? They're like, all right, yeah, but I mean, how do you get it in? And I was like, oh, well, I'll just call them. They'll just ship it. And they're like, nah, that's not how it works. I mean, and like, and then it was like going backwards from the retailer and then going to the distributor, and then the distributors are like, well, if they're going to do this, they got to do and then going there, and then just plugging up all these like little holes in the supply chain to try to get even brewers. Like last year, we went to black owned breweries and we were like, yo, we'll take 15 barrels off you. It's a nice sizable amount of beer from a brewery, but the breweries they either didn't have the capacity. We found 4 last year.
Right.
We wanted to have 8 black owned breweries like producing beer, like we were buying barrels. We found 4 in the whole country that were able to produce in the time that we needed it. A lot of the brewers were like, I can't afford the grains, like, because 15 barrels, you're talking about $10,000-$15,000 worth of grains and this, that, and the other different types of shit that you need to brew and whatnot. And like, I was talking to Celeste down in Harlem, and she was like, yeah, I mean, that line of credit that we typically get dried up with the pandemic, like, especially for black folks. You know what I mean? Like, that and so so we ended up finding Martin Chiaki out in California, Premier Malt Group's like one of the, I think he's the only black grainster that I'm aware of or whatever. But like so we were like, okay, so you ain't got grains, so we found grains. He was like, yo, I'll give them the grains. I'll let them hold the grains for 3 months. That gives them time to brew the beer, make the money, and then pay it off or whatever. You know what I mean? So like now we're sourcing grains to ship down to fucking Texas so somebody can brew it, and then working with distributors to bring it up to fucking like PA, and then working with retailers to put it on their shelves. Like, again, that's not what we were like planning on doing, but
it's just
like
a coincidence.
Yeah, but I mean, but like nobody else is doing it. And I think that there's a market for it. I think that there's a demand for it. Like last year, we sold 120 barrels of beer in 2 days through the Tavour. You know what I mean? Like clearly people want it. It's just all of these like hurdles and all of these archaic laws keeping the brewer from the customer or whatever that we got to get over. And, I don't, like, I think we're doing an okay job. We'll be in all of the Whole Foods this year, so you'll be able to find Barrel and Flow beer at Whole Foods, black owned beer. You'll find some at Giant Eagle and a few other retailers or whatever. But like now I'm like given all the difficulties and whatnot, like I'm debating whether or not that's even worth the hassle when you have something like direct to consumer shipping that's happening now.
Right.
There are these
for at least half the country.
Yeah. I mean, through Tavour, there's other methods out there and whatnot. So like, as a black brewer, or as a brewer in general, if I want to reach a demographic outside of, the people who can physically show up at my brewery or the surrounding area, direct to consumer marketing is the way.
Right.
And given that black owned beer is so spread out, the people who want it are so spread out. That seems to be the way. While I'm putting all this hard work in to try to get this beer to Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh is it's a portion of the larger market. I'm fucking breaking my goddamn, like I'm waking up in the middle of the night like how am I gonna get these kegs back? Like, you know what I mean? Like I'm sweating in the middle of the night trying to get beer to this small ass market, whereas like this Tavour thing happened in an email, and now it's out to 25 states. So, I think that for underrepresented groups and like various folks in the beer industry that are trying to like get out there, I think that this is the wave moving forward. I think you're going to see a lot more of these direct to consumers that are going to like, exploit these loopholes, and until the people who are making the big dollars off of the distribution start to, or legislation. I don't know. I know at some point somebody is going to see money leaving their coffers and are going to, change. But before then, we gotta make this a thing. So
yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, get it while you can, but maybe it has to turn into like a voucher system where you go on to the actual brewery's website and here's my code that I got for Barrel and Flow, send me the beer now.
Right.
But who knows? Yeah, but it's still it's an incredible feat that connecting all those dots, like you were saying, California to Texas to Pittsburgh, back out again, and
that's insane. It's not like you have a 30-person team.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the other thing I wanted to bring up is like your team. You have everybody kind of listed on the website, and you say who's doing what within that team. How did you kind of bring everybody together, and just like how is it? How are you all not killing each other, undertaking such massive countrywide ongoings?
We don't sharpen the knives in the house. That helps. You know what I mean? Okay. Whenever she tries to cut me. But no, I mean, so me and Ed have been working together for years. So, and he has like, he was a branch manager at a bank. So, his like the financing and things of that nature, like that fit. Like, I don't know shit about shit. I can't balance a checkbook, like, and again, a lot of this fest is finding people what they're already doing. You know what I mean? Like, and utilizing that talent to create something better. So, Ed, that was an easy fit. His wife, Camille, huge in the black community, has a black business directory here in Pittsburgh, a lot of connections in the city. So if those are the people that we're trying to reach and whatnot, that was an easy, they wanted to support. That was an easy, bring in. My fiance Kat, she was, she's a novelist. She actually is far more successful than I am, low key. You know what I mean? She gets a lot of fan mail and sells a lot of books and whatnot. But you would never know it because she's so I don't want to be, in the spotlight and whatnot. But all of our copy editing, has been from her. And as the fest grew and then the pandemic came in and we found ourselves with more time, she became more involved and was like, all right, well then, what more can I do? It started to become, like a family business. You know what I mean? And she's, man, she's just been picking up so much, so quickly. I mean, a lot, even design, we've got a new computer and we got AI and InDesign and all these different, these graphic, software, whatever. So she's now designing flyers and, whatever's needed. You know what I mean? She's there for. Mel reached out. She's been a supporter. She reached out after 2019. She did a collab with Maggie's Farm and a kombucha company out in DC. And afterwards she was like, hey, we met for lunch. She was like, I really would love to be a part of the festival. This is my background. Is there any way I can be involved and whatnot? So we brought her in. And then Sam, he reached out and was like, yo, you need any help? This is my background. I was like, you know what? We could. We need exactly that. We could use that. And, and then we were working with Tom before he was our beer guy. Tom is the one that came up with the idea. He was last year for the fest, he was like, you know what? We should go to these breweries and tell them that they need to brew these styles of beer. Let's put this variety pack. And he akined it to something I believe Stone had done back in the day, where they had these variety packs, that they would ship out and whatever. And of course Stone could do it because it's fucking Stone,
right?
But to try to recreate that, with this mix pack, with different styles, not just 8 IPAs or whatever. And then to tell them okay, tell them to use a template and that they got to pay an artist or whatever. I was like, you can't just tell breweries to do this shit. And Mike is, Tom is he's a genius, man, and he's worked in the industry for years. So he's Full Pint actually. He started out Full Pint. He was a large reason for their success. It was just a genius idea, but he ended up, he's actually opening up a brewery of his own. So he was like, listen, I would love to stay on the team, but I can't give you my all. So, you know what I mean? And I respect the hell out of that. And I miss Tom. If you're listening to Tom, I miss you. You know what I mean? But it is dope. It's dope to see people succeed, and it's dope to know that the people you're working with are all successful in other ways. You know what I mean? And that's kind of cool. I feel privileged to work with everybody that I'm working with, because they could be spending their time doing whatever the fuck they want, and for some reason they answer my emails. So, but yeah, I mean, that's basically, how the team came together. And, it's just, doing what they already do well, but, doing it for a cause that, not only helps them sleep better because they feel like they're, making the world a better place, but, we pay our staff, because we're all about paying folks for their work. And when you can get paid and make the world a little bit of a better place, shit,
it's beautiful.
Yeah,
it's a wonderful thing.
Yeah, awesome. Well, let's come back to the shop talk for just a little wrap up on the final thoughts on that beer.
I thought it was really good, Steve. I enjoyed it. And I feel like Westies are just becoming more and more rare these days. So it's always fun when you find a tasty one.
I don't think they're becoming more rare. I think they're coming back.
People
want them back.
I hope
people want them back. But yeah, I mean, I totally agree though. It that had such a strong, sharp bite on the back end of it. Like, it reminded me. I was like, oh yeah, that's what it used to be like. That's what 2007 was.
It's like Poltergeist. They're here.
Yeah. Yeah. All these young kids, they don't know what the fuck 75 IBUs were.
They've been living in like that 30 IBU territory.
Yeah. Fucking Green Flash died before anybody got pallet wrecker.
Was that like that 100 plus IBU?
It's one of them. Yeah. You can still get a really good one from 6 Point resin. Ooh.
Chef kisses.
Chef kisso. Awesome. Well, we're going to take a little break and we'll be back. Segment 3. And I have a little fun game planned for everybody. And stay tuned.
Steve Game.
Are you tired of watching the same old awesome movies? Are B movies more your style? Then the folks over at They Call This a Movie have you covered. Join us every Thursday as we review the worst of the worst in sci-fi, action, comedy, and more. We are available on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, and Podbean at theycallthisamovie.podbean.com. They Called This a Movie, testing the strength of friendships, one terrible movie at a time.
It's episode 215 of the Hop Nation USA podcast, and it's still all three of us, Steve, Dennis, and Day, hanging out at First Sip Studios. And we got another beer. It's another collab. And that beer will be featured at Barrel and Flow, the actual festival, not the Tavour box. So you got to come to Pittsburgh for this one. But Day, if you want to introduce it, you can, or I'll introduce it since I'm the one who picked it up.
Go ahead.
Yeah. It is the Black Metal, the hazy India Pale Ale from Helltown Brewing, and it's made in collaboration with Byron Nash. He's a guitar player, and he loves his music, and he's featured. I would say that's a good representation of him, skull face and all. It is a fucking sick label, especially like if you know Helltown labels. Most of them are just.
If he doesn't have that as a tattoo, he should.
At least a t-shirt. Yeah. But, it's a flat black on most Helltowns, but no, they put Byron front and center with giant rocking, burning stacks, playing for the devil, playing the devil's music. Pretty dope can. I'm into it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that collaboration, we reached out to Byron the first year of Fresh Fest, and I was a fan of his music and, fan of Helltown. We had just like met up with Helltown like shortly beforehand, went out there, saw their place and whatnot. And, again, with the collaborations, we're always trying to pair people in the ways that we feel that they're going to blend. You know what I mean? Like,
absolutely.
We're not going to put Helltown with a church group.
Talk about collaborations changing viewpoints.
Can you change your name to Hecktown just for this one?
Right. So but we were like, reached out, and he didn't know who the fuck we were or what we were doing.
Yeah.
We were like, we're doing this festival, want to pair you up with these guys, do a collaboration beer. And he was just like, all right, yeah, I guess. And we had him drive all the way out to fucking where Mount Pleasant,
past Greensburg,
or some people call it Mountain Pleasant.
Mountain Pleasant, yeah. He was just like, yo, what the fuck? But then he got out there and met the folks, and they kind of hit it off, and came out with the first iteration of Black Metal, and then the next year, they hit us up and was like. Before we announced the festival, and they're like, yeah, we're doing a collab again. And the second year we were like, well, we're not doing repeats. We want to give people like the opportunity, we want to spread the opportunity around to other folks or whatever. And they were like, all right, well, we'll just do 2 then. So they did that collab with, they did Black Metal, and then they did another one with Starship Mantis, rest in peace, one of the greatest bands in Pittsburgh history or whatever. But so they did 2 collabs the second year, and the third year they were like, listen, we don't know what's going on with this pandemic shit, but we're doing Black Metal again. I was like, oh, that's awesome. And then this year, they hit us up again and was like, again, we don't know what's going on, but we, not only are we doing Black Metal again, but Byron is now the like head of marketing and promotion for Helltown.
Oh,
You know,
no shit.
like
That's a dope
What is
collab.
like-
He's like, this is my job now.
like, it's crazy, and like, that's kind of like, what we want to happen in these collabs is long, lasting relationships outside of just
Right.
that, like,
Yeah.
that 1 year or whatever. People finding their talents within the industry. I mean, Byron isn't doing anything differently than he was doing before he met up with Helltown. He's just now doing it for Helltown and himself. I mean, like he's killing it, and like, for Helltown to see that, and like, and Byron, Byron is one of the hardest working fucking people I've ever met. I mean, he makes me feel lazy. I mean, like, in what he does. So, we had him headline the festival last year and whatnot. And he's actually going to be, performing for one of the lead up events that we have this year. But I mean, the talent that he has, the drive that he has, and this collaboration, in and of itself it's the longest running, collaboration that we have. It's the only one that's been brewed every year, for the festival. And it really is indicative of what we are hoping, to see, as a result of this. So.
It's good
Heck
fucking
yeah.
beer too.
Yeah, it's delicious.
Yeah.
It's like refreshing. It's juicy, tasty.
Yeah. It's actually really refreshing, and it's also super flavorful. Like, you get a lot of those big citrus notes on it.
Is this another one of those sleepers? 6.9. It is. Those would definitely add up.
Get you in trouble.
That's just math.
It's just bad. It's good beer though. However, we're going to move on to a game. Yes. And
Steve's like, you want to play a game?
I know Dennis is fearful of the games on this show from time to time because sometimes they get very esoteric and very hard and very convoluted. But this is very simple. I'm just ripping off, pardon the interruption, from ESPN. We did it last week with one segment. We're changing the game this week, and we're just going to rip off Word. So if you don't know how to play Word, I'll just give you a prompt and end it with a blank, and you fill in the blank with the word that comes to your mind.
Oh,
Yeah.
all right.
Pretty simple.
Isn't this a psychology test?
No,
Sort of. Sort of.
We go to leave. Steve's like, here's your results. Wait, what?
I mean, it'll let people know your psychology on things. So, but we'll start real simple though. The evolution of pumpkin the beer to pumpkin and cola, the ready to drink cocktail, is blank.
Fucking delicious.
That's 2 words, but we'll take
Oh,
it.
sorry. I got really excited.
Have you had it yet?
No,
Yeah.
but I could only imagine.
Yeah.
It's on my list.
I was just wondering. Day, do you have a thought on that?
Fuck.
I drink it. I was eating hot pellets, so you got to learn what to expect.
Man. I mean, drink what you like, man, but also fuck that. Like, fuck Southern Tier. Fuck pumpkins being released in July.
He's just out there just kicking pumpkins at this point. I fucking hate all you bastards.
July. The last thing I want to see on my motherfucking news feed in the middle of summer is October. Like,
It's all over the place.
Like-
But it had to have happened because the people want it.
yeah,
Like,
no,
that's
the people
supply and
want it.
demand.
The people want it. There's also there are millions of unvaccinated fucking people out
That
there.
is
So just
also
because the
true.
people
All
want
right,
it
so
doesn't
right
mean
now's a bad time to,
there's
like-
millions of people that want COVID too. Apparently, yeah. I mean, should we give it to them? You motherfuckers! Fuck.
So what do we learn? Kick pumpkins and get vaccinated.
I'm on Day's side with this one.
Yeah.
Give everybody COVID and pumpkins. That's what you're getting at, right?
In that order. Don't
Yeah.
mix them up.
Let them eat Rona.
Yeah. I'll admit I do have a 4-pack of it. I did buy it.
Did you bring it?
No,
Oh.
it's for something else.
Okay.
But it's going to sit for a while. It's not getting drank now. It's too hot. That's stupid.
Yeah.
But I need to try what the hell pumpkin whiskey
that's
and
where
cola.
my mind was.
Yeah. Like it's not all for me. I'm going to distribute it to other people.
Right.
So you still might get some, Dennis, but it's just like, somebody tell me what the fuck this
If
craziness
it makes
is.
you just want to like throw up, then don't give me. All right, still give me some. but-
Right.
I mean, I feel like, I love whiskey. And, cola is a flavor and pumpkin. Like the flavors, they sound like the work.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Possible,
Like,
yeah.
I just fear that it's not going to be done with tact. Like
Right.
it's just gonna be whiskey and like popcorn and cola. Like nobody's gonna like play second fiddle. Like it's not gonna like subtly.
It's just gonna
like,
be super harsh.
It's
And
gonna
brash
be everything is just gonna be on your tongue at the same. Like,
Kool-Aid
like
Man
pumpkin,
breaking through the wall.
I feel like it has been like I stopped drinking. Like when I like pumpkin used to be one of my favorite fucking
agree.
like beers. Like
Yeah.
I like, and then it just became too much.
Right.
I think
And,
that's,
like, I think
as
a lot
they
of it was-
scaled up. They
Yeah,
kinda
as
lost
Southern
it
Tier, a
little
lot of
bit.
like creme brulee and like a lot of the big beers that I used to love, like now are just like too fucking much. So when I
Right.
hear that, like I feel like it could be done well if it was done subtly and with tact, but I just don't trust.
You don't know that it has been.
Yeah.
Nah.
And nobody has because this is the first year for it. So
Right.
nobody knows how good it is.
I mean, if those cocktail seltzers are like blowing up out there, like this can't be too insane, right?
which leads me into the next prompt.
Oh, here we go.
The idea of Barrel and Flow becoming a mostly seltzer and ready to drink cocktail festival is blank.
To who?
It's whoever wants to go first, but
You said just one word?
just one word.
Basic.
Basic.
I don't know.
Yeah. I can see.
Possible. I don't know, man. At some point, I might sell this motherfucker. And what they do with that shit afterwards, I don't know, man. Like,
Day may not have full control over Barrel and Flow
Man.
Miami.
Well, we were talking about comics earlier. It's like selling the rights of certain characters,
Yeah.
and then you see those characters like, oh my god, I would never have done that.
Right.
This is insane.
right? You know what I mean? Like,
This is like a whiskey cola pumpkin drink.
Barrel and Flow Malibu might have a whole lot of RTDs.
like, I mean, I don't feel like, who sorted DC? Fucking
I've drank too much.
But I mean, I just don't feel like he's watching, like Justice League and going, "That's how I drew it up." Like, I mean, I don't feel like he's like, "Oh, that's my baby." Like, I mean,
Closest I can get you is Bob Kane with Batman.
Bob Kane, yeah, right.
Bob
I
Kane
mean,
is probably not looking down from heaven and going, "Yep,
That's what I thought all them years ago.
I needed 3 Robins. One of them's bisexual, and that's not what his thoughts are. It's great for now. I mean,
Yeah.
it's what the audience wants to read,
Right.
but it's not what he envisioned.
Right. 100%.
So
And I'm just imagining like how I couldn't have that many seltzers.
yeah.
Like a seltzer,
Nah.
I'm not against the whole seltzer thing that's going on. I find it like after I have like 3 or 4 beers, having some kind of seltzer made by a brewery, not like the Trulies and all that stuff, like
Yeah.
having a local brewery make it isn't terrible. It will help cleanse the palate and then keep pushing forward.
Yeah, I mean, I think like I've had a couple of seltzers or whatever. Like they weren't all terrible. You know?
Right.
It's not my preference.
Right.
Ultimately. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's what it boils down to. I mean, but like they seem fairly easy to make and whatnot. So it's not like when you have a very well crafted beer with like the right mingling of flavors, and when you take a hop and make it taste like fruit or whatever the fuck, like that's a skill.
Right.
Like taking, alcohol water and dumping some fruit into it or whatever. Like that's
some
not.
straight extract. I think that's how they flavor them is just
Yeah,
straight
yeah.
extract.
Yeah.
Straight extract or the pure am, depending on whoever's doing it. But
Yeah, I mean, it's not.
It's
It doesn't seem it's necessarily like skillful. Like
Right.
I look at the beer industry as something that I could never do, but seltzer is something I could probably figure
Right.
out. Like, I mean, like,
Yeah.
so.
The only thing I would point out is some of those cocktail seltzers, specifically from our Couch Brewing out in the east end of Pittsburgh, like they made a Moscow Mule.
Mhm.
It is a Moscow Mule
Yeah.
in a can, clocking at 10%.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think that if the and again, if you find the right mingling of
Right.
flavors, things of that nature, again, a cocktail, what do they call it? A mixologist or whatever. You know what I
Right, yeah,
mean?
yeah.
Like, somebody that does that and gets the right balance of flavor or whatever. Any chef, anybody that can get the right balance of flavors that make it like something unique, or you know what I mean? Like, I appreciate that because there's skill
100%,
involved with
not
that.
just-
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Berry.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I mean, like, berry seltzer. All right, weak.
Perhaps it's still just because like seltzer is sort of in its infancy that we haven't seen the true like ability of people
Maybe
to
it's
make
just not
it.
evolving
skillful.
craft yet. It's
Right,
just
right,
like, hundreds of years ago, like Monk Fred scratched his beard above it and like made some beer.
Some farmer left the
Some beer
fucking pot
yeast.
open and he got beer out of it. But yeah. I brought that one up though because we mentioned that that corporate beer event that was on the 13th, and from what I heard, it was half seltzer. So
Wow.
Damn.
Wow. Yeah. Come to Barrel and Flow. You will not see many seltzers there.
I
there's a
doubt
lot
you'll
of
see
craft
any.
and art.
And if you do, it's because a brewer's like out there sweating, so he's just drinking it for himself
Right.
as he's pouring.
My email has not mentioned seltzer quite yet. I think everybody fully understands my stance on it. So like,
You get there, you're all set up. You see someone's pouring the seltzer. You guys, he sees you see him, and he's like, "I'll see my way out."
yeah, man.
Just relabels the tap. Like,
Yeah,
Sorry.
we are checking vaccinations,
Yep.
tests, and kegs apparently
Checking-
at the door.
checking jockey boxes for seltzer.
And vaccination tests are within, so the
72.
negative test within 72 hours, right?
72 hours,
Okay.
yeah, 3 days.
And if you have a picture of your vaccination card, you can show that at the
Yes.
door.
Yeah, it's
Yes.
digital.
Yes.
You know what I mean, but
Yeah.
there is no way that seltzer gets in. I don't know, digital or otherwise.
You might get some forged vax cards, but no fucking seltzers.
All right, here's another one. The Community College of Denver offering an associate's degree in cannabis business is blank.
A waste of money. Or, I'm sorry, waste.
A waste?
Waste.
Okay. You can explain yourself if you want.
Oh,
I mean,
okay. I got and the reason being is from being a business owner, the biggest waste of my money was college. I'm not saying all colleges waste money. I'm just saying there's not one class that they taught that actually helped me be a profitable business owner. So you don't
Okay.
absolutely have to go to school if you want to get into business.
Okay.
It's just that's the path for some people.
Let me twist it then, because this is the first year they're offering a cannabis business associate's degree, but they're looking to add a bachelor's of applied science in cannabis sciences.
Okay. Now we're getting somewhere because then you understand a lot of the theory behind it.
Okay.
And I'm down with that. I'm not
Okay.
saying college is a waste for every job. Like you
Yeah.
want to be an astronaut, you got to go to fucking school. You want to, be a CEO at a company that you did not start, you
Right.
got to go to school. But to start your own thing, I don't think you absolutely have to. You go
Okay.
to the school of hard knocks, falling on your fucking face.
Fair enough. Dave, thoughts on schools finally opening up, not just for, because this was part of like a craft beer.
Mhm.
They're talking about the colleges that offer craft beer studies, and now they're adding cannabis because it's Denver, because it's Colorado.
I would say dope.
Ah.
Like, I mean, it is like, I think that, having that kind of gateway, if you don't come from a culture or an environment and have some of those like tools necessary, and I mean, like, maybe you don't need 4 years of an education or whatever, just something to kind of like get you some of those base, like kind of like, because like I'm a hustler, so like I'm very, I don't have any degrees. I did go to college and dropped out, and then just like hustled, and I'm self-taught in a lot of what I do or whatever. And I do feel like, and I may go back and take a couple of courses in like business or something to kind of help my understanding of some things that are kind of like outside my, and having that environment to just sit in and be around other people, and just kind of like, even like, working from home for the last like 3 or 4 years, like sometimes it helps to get outside of my house and sit into an actual office to get some work done and put myself in that mindset. So, and with the cannabis industry being what it is, I think it might be a good way for like, some young black folks to take a course and then get that experience that they wouldn't be able to get, if they just walked up and were like, I want to get in there. Like, well, you need experience first. I'm like, how the fuck you get experience? And do like,
Right.
Is that what you're supposed to provide?
How do you get experience in a super closed off loop? Like,
It's like buying your first car. You need good credit. How do you get good credit? By getting things like this car. It's like a never-ending cycle of not being able to get a car.
And with Colorado being one of those states that like is funded like heavily through legalized weed, I feel like, I don't know. I would imagine that the college is fairly cheap, or at least affordable for, the gateway. So, I don't know. Maybe I'll just fly out there. That's the next the next endeavor.
Well, it is a community college and it is an associate's degree, so that's only 2 years. So yeah,
Barrel
be.
and Flow Hempfest.
Don't
It's just-
rule that out.
It's just wild that, like, I mean, 10 years ago, this shit was all like super illegal.
Yeah,
and
prison
just
time.
Prison time. And there's
And
people
it's
still
still-
in
yeah.
prison right
Yeah,
now.
that's the messed
That's
up
the
part.
worst
I
part.
think.
Yeah, it's the worst
Imagine
part.
like being in jail for fucking like weed and just watching like weed.
And now these young
bombs
kids are
and-
walking down the street smoking it in front
Right.
of, like at the bus
Ridiculous.
stop, and
Yeah.
That is so
that
shitty.
sucks. That sucks.
Are they looking at going in and retroacting? I thought I heard something
So I
about
mean,
people
so
sentences and
it's
shit.
all like all the government. It's all county based, city based, state based, whatever.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like shit, PA. Nah, you ain't gonna see that shit. In the
Think
next...
about all the money keeping people in there.
Right.
You know what I
Right.
mean? Because they're a bed, they're filling up
Mhm.
space, they're getting paid for that. So if they release, let's just throw a number out there, it's probably more than that, probably 5-10% for people that got drug charges because of marijuana. That's a lot of money they're losing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I did a report in college on like marijuana or whatever, and there's like millions of fucking people in jail.
Yeah.
I mean, and like their lives are negatively affected because of marijuana charges or whatever. So I mean, like it's a large, it's much because like it's the most common. So like it is the largest that you're getting busted on, and whether you're doing hard time for it or misdemeanors or whatever the fuck, like those drug charges ban you from like going to college and like getting like college funding and shit over a weed bag. Like I mean, so. It is. I mean, the prison industrial complex is not trying, and that's why it's been so hard to get such a innocuous, like drug, because it's a lot. Like there's far more many people in jail because of marijuana than there is
Than
coke.
anything
Right.
else.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean,
It's a business for the government.
Right.
So.
Yeah.
Nowadays, it's like getting caught smoking weed should be like a parking ticket, like
Right.
If that,
level.
Yeah. If but it's because until it goes clear federal, that it's like legal federal, none of the states really have to consider releasing anybody.
yeah.
They don't have
Right.
to because they're just like, well, it's still federally illegal, so they still broke a federal charge or whatever.
Damn,
So yeah,
that's shitty.
it's a bullshit thing. Let's move on to something a little better. Every other beer fest next to Barrel and Flow Fest is blank.
Ooh. That's a good one.
Yeah.
I would say dated.
Ooh.
That's a good one.
I think the model is dated. I think that there was when beer festivals started, whenever beer festivals started, long before I ever started drinking craft beer. I think that there was a purpose, and like bringing people in, introducing them to the product, getting marketing for the breweries, like there was, and that's what they're supposed to be like. And then somewhere along the way, like craft beer became more popular, and then and they didn't expand the I guess the people who were the fan base. You know what I mean? Like it continued to be the same, like bearded white guy kind of like demographic. And if you've ever like, in those beer groups, like the regular beer groups, like those fucking people are miserable, man. Like they're
Right.
always bitching, and it's just like, man, it's like, fuck this beer, and like,
Yelling
and
at
it's just like,
clouds.
yeah, it's just like it's angry and it's entitled, and like and they start showing up to beer festivals and going, give me your fucking highest ABV and just shut up and pour it, and then they go on tap and they go, hated it, like, you know what I mean? And it's like, whatever. And yeah, it became stagnant and it stopped serving its purpose. And then the models are all fucked up because, they're not paying the brewers, and the brewers have to pay out of pocket for the staff, pay out of pocket for the beer. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's just like, well, why? Like why be one dot in, 100 fucking breweries that you're not even going to remember that I was here? Like, what the fuck is the purpose? So, I mean, I think that, that model, people just kind of rested on their laurels, and it was just the way that it was. So people just kept going along with it. Like, I mean, it was like, well, it was just the way
don't know
it
any
is.
better.
Yeah, you don't know any better. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, so.
Nobody knew how to innovate.
Right.
And then that's all it became. But I think in Pittsburgh, we've seen flashes of innovation. I mean, obviously Barrel and Flow, and then Brutal Beer Fest,
Right.
was another one.
Man, Brutal.
That was
Fuck yeah.
dope. That's
Brutal
where
was
Steve
my
and I actually
inspiration,
met.
man. Like fucking Meg. Shout out to Meg.
Hell yeah.
Shout out to James. Like Brutal. Like I was like, yo, this is fucking dope. Like, you know what I mean? Because it was that I should mention that more often, like in the story or whatever, because I keep saying I went to a bunch of breweries and like brew festivals and got bored, but that was one of the brew festivals that I fucking like. It
was
loved.
insane.
Yeah, no, I love that guy, and it was an inspiration, like because they had found a niche and it was a community that they were talking to and they were trying to bring together, and like that was what dope. And like I remember talking to Meg. And she was like, well, how did you get all these beer nerds to show up? Like, and I was like, because I didn't fucking care about them.
And that's like something Meg, like I've talked to Meg about it, and she said kind of the same thing of like, it was more people were there to see the bands.
Yeah.
And then maybe they discovered beer.
Yeah.
But you don't have to advertise the beer nerds. They'll fucking come anyway.
Right. They know it exists.
Yeah. They know it's there.
Yeah.
And then there's people like me who like both. And I'm like, of course I'm there.
Yep.
That's right where I met Steve actually so many years ago. We were set up, we were sampling some of our beer jellies and stuff that we were carrying. Steve comes over and all hears like, ooh. And then found out about the podcast. And then, I don't know, 30, 40, 50 episodes later that I was on.
Well, no, you were on episode like 34 or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, we had a couple in the bank, but yeah, you were on pretty quickly after that.
As far as my one word, can you read it again since there was a little bit?
Sure. Every other beer fest next to Barrel and Flow is
causeless.
Okay.
Because you guys actually have a much higher mission. Like you were saying before, how the other models are dated. It feels like it's highlighting the beer in different breweries, but there's no higher meaning. With Barrel and Flow, there is a higher meaning. Bringing people of color together, celebrating what diversity does exist in beer, but also highlighting the lack of diversity in beer and libations and imbibing in general.
I think there's like one other beer fest maybe in the Carolinas. Feel free to correct me if you know better, but there is an all-female brew fest that goes on. But yeah, other than that and this one,
like Dames and Dregs, I believe is
might be that. Yeah, but other than those two, yeah, you're right. There's
no higher meaning.
Yeah, not too many have that kind of higher, that uptick, that social and community looking aspect.
But I think that, I think that's changing. And there's beers without beards and things of that nature, like, and I know you're starting a festival and whatever for vets, and like I think that ultimately the brew industry in general is moving towards that direction and needs to move in that direction, because these watering holes are community centers. And this is where people congregate, ideas are shared, like people feel a sense of, it's cheers, right? It's a sense of unity, like in that community and whatnot. And I think the most successful breweries, the ones that I enjoy most, are the ones that are providing more than just liquid. They're also providing a space for their community to grow. And like, when you, and beer is such a powerful, alcohol is such a powerful, motivator for a lot of things. So you can raise a lot of funds, like go into a church or some sort of nonprofit organization. And by bringing some beer there, now you've already sold a few tickets that'll, help like, that organization and whatnot, raise some funds for your softball team or whatever it is. And I think like shout out to Trace, you know what I mean? Like, they're out there killing it right now, but like they're killing it because they went out and they had the mission to build a community and not just, make great liquid. They were like, what is the staff and the patronage going to look like from the gate?
Right.
And they've made, very concerted efforts in building, events and making, giving signaling to people when they come in that they're welcome there. And I think that, moving forward, as this beer industry starts to become, more realistic, more reflective of, the real world, the folks that understand that and are making it, more than just a liquid, are going to be the ones that succeed.
100%.
And just to add on to that, Trace has also built a space that isn't just about beer. Like you can go in and have coffee, or you can just go in and not have anything. You can,
Right.
Yeah.
Kick the fire on, just relax.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can go spray paint the fucking side of their wall if you want.
Sure.
Like-
Yeah. You do that too.
Literally, yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well, let's come back to the beers that we drank tonight, and we can do the podium, bronze, silver, and gold of what our favorite beers were tonight. Dennis, you seem a little hesitant and need refreshing,
It's
so
tough.
I'll let you go after me. For me, I'm going to put the Black Metal by Helltown in bronze. It's a really good beer. It's super refreshing. You can drink a number of them, but it's not. It just kind of lacks the uniqueness that the other two beers have. I feel like we've been inundated with hazies. We get it. We know what they are. I mean, it's still really well made, and it's more flavorful than a lot of, just shit that people will throw out just to throw out.
Yeah.
Like there's obviously a focus on this beer and there's a thought behind it, but it's just not as unique. I'll give silver to the Knock If You Bock. That collaboration between Burgh'ers and Crafted Culture. It's really good. It's clean, easy drinking. Get you in trouble because it's big, but it has a lot of that classic flavor on it, and the hazelnut doesn't like overtake anything. Like I said before, you're not drinking Nutella, but it does come through on the nose, which is kind of cool. However, Shop Talk by Revolution and 18th Street, that is a great West Coast IPA. All hail West Coast IPAs.
You know where Steve's loyalties lie.
Oh yeah, let's get our palates blasted the fuck out. Dennis.
If I'm sliding in there, Steve, I would give bronze, same thought process to Helltown. Beautiful artwork, delicious beer. It's really crushable. I could drink these all day. But you made a very good point. There's just a lot of those styles out there that I kind of just want something a little bit different. And also going up against, I mean, these are like phenomenal beers. So it's kind of tough to choose between all three of them. You can't make a wrong decision.
Right.
Unless you're like allergic to hops or something.
Yeah.
They're all a bad decision for you. My silver is going to go actually the Shop Talk.
Okay.
Now, artwork wise, this is one of the dopest can labels and can design I've ever seen. Like, it's just so warm and inviting. I love it. And like I mentioned earlier, I do love the idea of a West Coast IPA, one of my favorite styles. However, going in gold, the Knock If You're Bock, it's so good. And coming in from Burgh'ers Brewing, they do a lot of really good work with crafted culture. Also another really good can design, but I just have a weakness for, like German styles, my box, all that stuff. So that has to come in at gold for me.
Right on. And Day, what are your rankings?
I love all my children equally.
Nope, can't do that on that show. Nope.
No, I mean, honestly, it's going to be the same as you had. I'm going to go bronze with Helltown. You're right. It's a hazy. Love Byron, love the folks and whatnot. But hazy it's hazy. And I'm kind of burnt out on hazies. Knock If You Bock is the silver. Love the artwork, love the story behind it. Love the hazelnut that's in there. It's a different take on the Doppelbock. Yeah, I mean, there's really nothing bad to say about it. I mean, I probably am not going to drink a whole lot of those. It's a little sweeter or whatnot. But Shop Talk, I mean, West Coast making the comebacks. West Coast lagers, the hoppier folks, the lager folks, like those are. I'm falling back in love with them. I'm falling in love with lagers, for the first time. But West Coast, and it's solid. It's not like overly bitter. Like, I mean, it's not it's not going to completely wreck and numb your whole shit out. But I mean, it's still got the pine in there. It's got the citrus, and it's just, you get done drinking and you want more. Which is, again, it's dangerous because I mean, I can pound. So yeah, no, I'm it's clear. Like, I mean, like the talent that went into brewing that beer is just, you know, and you know, if anybody else is listening, they know they know who the fuck Revolution and 18th Street is. Yeah. Like, getting second best to 18th Street and Revolution is not a terrible fucking thing. So
I don't know anybody who doesn't know Revolution. Right. That would be a surprise.
So yeah.
Everybody just got done posting about their barley wine release not too long ago. So yeah.
You know, I should have brought some of that. They did send me some of that.
We got to drive home. We don't.
Hey, I can sleep here. You know, y'all are more welcome to sleep here.
Right on. But Dave, why don't you keep going and just plug everything for Barrel and Flow Fest everywhere people can find you on social media, websites, and anything else you want to give out there.
So, you know, I'm Dave Bracey. You can find me at Day, D-A-Y, Bracey, B-R-A-C-E-Y, everywhere. You can also, I happen to be co-host of a podcast called Drinking Partners. You can find us on epiccastnetwork.com/partnerspod. You can find us on iTunes, Stitcher, Libsyn, Google Play, and Spotify under Drinking Partners. And you can find us on IG, Twitter, and Facebook at PartnersPod. And I'm also founder of Barrel and Flow Fest, and you can find us at flowfest.beer and at Barrel and Flow everywhere else.
Yeah.
Right on. Dennis?
Dennis Guy, owner and founder of First Sip Brew Box. You can find out more about First Sip Brew Box on 7 different social media platforms, the Facebooks, Instagram, Twitters, even on Pinterest. You can catch us on TikToks doing little dances, having fun there. If you need to reach out to me, Dennis at First Sip Brew Box. And as far as additional things that we have coming up, we are launching our own festival, Hops with Heroes. It's one of the first military veteran-themed beer fest happening here in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and we're excited for it. So check us out.
Right on. And if you want to check out Hop Nation USA on social media, all you have to do is search Hop Nation USA. That'll get you Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. And if you want to listen to brand new episodes of the Hop Nation USA podcast every Friday, as you should, then search Hop Nation USA on your favorite podcatcher like Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, anything that starts and ends with pod or cast. We're on those platforms. But if you're on any of those platforms, leave a 5-star review because
it's a 6-star show, but they only let us choose 5.
And thank you, Dennis, for picking up Adam's slack.
I've done a couple of these episodes.
Yeah. Also, go check out Halloween is Forever. That's with me and Meg and Brian Reed. Yeah.
I do got to tune into that.
Yeah.
It looks like fun.
You'll learn a lot about horror movies, Dennis. But thanks again to Dave Bracey coming on the show and telling us all about Barrel and Flow once again. And yeah.
Thank you for having me.
It's nice to finally get him on in person. Yeah. He was on our last meeting was Zoom.
Oh yeah. Well, that was a whole year. You know, you remember the what did you guys call it? The podcast on the porch, the Corona Chronicles or something. What did you call that?
Quarantines.
Quarantines. That's what. Yeah, Corona Chronicles. I mean, that's not that name either. But
Chronicles. Chronicles. No, Quarantines works a lot better. But awesome. Thanks for everybody listening. We'll be back next week with something new. Goodbye.
Bye.